Hello, everybody. Welcome. Just me again. Hope everyone's having a great day. Welcome to the Week Ahead News Show, episode 64 here on the Lee Doodle channel. It's currently June 8th, 2026. Let's get right into it. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell. Our Facebook's in my description. Our co-host Tommy could not make it tonight. We'll be going into weather here now. Pull it up. Let me transition. 1 second. I hope everyone's having a great week. We'll be back here Thursday for our sports show. We got weather. Let's go. I always love this bad boy. This bad boy looks cool. Today we had a high of 90 high today. Highest for a week. Low of 55, partly cloudy. Tomorrow we have a high of 83, low of 69. Nice. 90% chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. Be careful out there. Wednesday we have an 85% chance of thunderstorm. Looks like 87, high, low of 71. Thursday we have a 70% chance of thunderstorm. High of 85, low of 73. Friday we have a 60% chance of thunderstorms. High of 80, getting a little bit colder, 10 degrees colder than today. Yuck, yuck. Low of 67. Yuck. Saturday, we have a high of 82. Low of 62. Sunny. Sunday, 35% chance of rain. High of 82. Low of 63. Next Monday, 50% chance of rain. High of 75. Low of 60. Getting a little bit colder. Our current moon is in the last quarter. About 44% illumination. Our moonrise is at 1:36 a.m. with moon set at 1:33 p.m. Our next full moon's in 21 days. Our sunset. First light today was at 5:16 a.m. Sunrise today was at 5:50 a.m. Sunset today at 8:53 p.m. Last light at 9:27 p.m. About 15 hours and 3 minutes a day, daylight. Getting very close to our high, which is on June 21st, coming up here soon, which is awesome. About 0.4% inches of rain tomorrow. We need it. It's kind of been a little drought season here recently. We'll go back to here. Hope everyone's having a great week. Actually, wait, let me fix this real quick. The stocks. Okay. Looks like the stocks don't want to get fixed on this, so whatever. Alright. Well, it looks better, my bad. Hope everyone's having a great day. Let's go right into our funny topic of the night. Funny topic is for White House Bizarre 6-7 Day yesterday, meme video. Official White House posted on all social medias a fast-paced 6-7 day meme video celebrated June 7th. It featured President Trump dancing alongside rapid-fire internet-style edits. Included perhaps the most topical visual, former White House Speaker Nancy Pelosi edited into a smiling baby son from Teletubbies. That's crazy. It's so dumb. That's what they're doing. They've been posting a lot of brain rot, AI-generated content, stuff that should be satire, and it's just funny that all this stuff is coming from the president, in my opinion. I gotta make sure we get fixed too. Looks like I got capture mixed up. I might have to keep this open. A bigger way to say that. Maybe I'll keep this restart capture thing open so whenever it glitzes I could see and just hit it real quick. Hope everyone's having a great week. It's kind of funny with the president on that, and we've seen it all over, and Trump is pushing this dumb, brain rot, AI generated content. We talked about it a little bit before. It's just funny with 6-7 Day, and we've seen it a lot more kind of the past month. We'll go right on to a national topic. I have to take a sip of water. I appreciate everyone stopping by tonight. Make sure you drop a like. Any other comments or input, post in the chat. I really appreciate it. Let's get right into it. For National 1, Kind of a topic for Ohioans last week with gas prices. Nearly half of Americans say they're worse off financially than a year ago. A New York Fed study found. Survey from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York paints a sobering picture of how many Americans view their personal finances. According to May 2026, survey of consumer expectations, 48% of respondents say they are financially worse than they were a year ago, the highest percentage recorded since January 2023, 3 years ago. The findings suggest that despite positive headlines in some part of the economy, many households continue to struggle with day-to-day cost of living. The disconnect between economic statistics and consumer sentiment has become one of the biggest stories of this year. The national unemployment rate remains relatively low, and stock markets have remained resilient, yet millions of Americans and families say they simply don't feel financially secure. Higher insurance costs, rent, food prices, and lingering inflation have continued to eat into household budgets. Right now, what House for Right reacting to it? Conservative commentators and Republican supporters have largely used the survey as evidence that the economy is failing ordinary Americans despite positive government messaging. And that many point findings that nearly half Americans were financially proof that inflation remains a defining economic issue. Online discussions frequently argue that everyday costs, not for Wall Street performance or GPD numbers, are what voters actually experience. Supporters of President Trump have also argued that the Federal Reserve survey validates complaints from their own working class voters, saying that official economic indicators often fail to capture how difficult everyday life has become for middle-class households. People on the left, with progressive commentators, have largely agreed that Americans are financially stressed, but often attribute their struggles to broader structural issues rather than a single administration. Many discussants have focused on stagnant wage growth, relative to living expenses here recently, arguing that workers continue to lose purchasing power even when unemployment remains strong. Others often highlight corporate pricing practices, housing shortages, and healthcare costs, and wealth inequality as major contributors to this financial anxiety. Some progressive economics have also noted that consumer sentiment has remained depressed for years despite changes in administrations, suggesting that the affordability crisis predates 2026 and reflects long-term economic trends rather than recent policy decisions alone, and we kind of seen that. Interestingly, both sides of the political spectrum agree at one point: Americans continue to feel squeezed financially. Whether blame is placed on inflation, government policy, housing costs, corporate behavior, or global economic conditions, there is a broad consensus that many households are struggling to keep pace with rising expenses. For many voters, the issue isn't whether inflation isn't technically slowing here. It's whether prices remain significantly higher than they were just a few years ago, and incomes haven't always risen enough to compensate. Make sure you're getting that raise every year. Take a sip of water and we'll go on to the next one. It is interesting. We kind of talked about a couple past shows. That's how hard it is. It depends. I'm lucky in my field I do get a raise, but with living expenses, houses and stuff, housing prices, it's just crazy how stuff is nowadays. I won't lie with that. Especially how modern Americans are spending. I'm a little bit better, but still, even gardening, something it's a long-term investment or a couple-year investment. Finally seen that come off. So you gotta be smart with your money. You really do. And nowadays we see with middle class and people that aren't professionals or even are professionals. It all depends. Blue collar workers. It's very hard for them to get paid more in certain fields. So we see that a lot lagging all around, which is sad. But I do think Trump is making it a little bit worse. We saw it with the tariffs, and a lot of his decisions. Getting a lot of these immigrants out of our country that work jobs that Americans don't really want to do causes higher inflation for those jobs. Not really higher inflation, but kind of for what you're paying for. If it's fruit, produce, we've seen all of those prices increase over inflation. So that's something that's definitely policy tied. And that definitely with the tariffs. And I've seen even companies, I haven't seen prices come down since the tariffs went away. So it's kind of dumb. It was kind of all a scam, and now companies, kind of like with COVID, know they can pay that much. So it's crazy to me. Alright, on to our last topic, our local topic. It's basically how the governor race is looking right now. The Ohio 2026 governor race officially kicked off after the May primary election, with Republican nominee I had a cough there. Vivek Ramaswamy and Democratic nominee Amy Acton advanced into the general election. For the race will determine the successor to the term limited Governor Mike DeWine, and expected to become one of the most closely watched statewide elections of the country. Ramaswamy won the Republican primary decisively, while Acton was unopposed on the Democratic side, but still got a lot of votes, which is really good to see. Apparently, Democrats turned out better percentage-wise than Republicans, and what they thought was going to happen with the percentage and basically the amount of registered voters. Why the race matters, Ohio has shifted increasingly Republican over the past decade, but Democrats believe Acton gives them a competitively statewide candidate because of her high name recognition from the COVID-19 era, but he things alongside DeWine. Even though Republicans try to shift a lot of the blame to her, what DeWine was for governor then, and Acton's a public health doctor, she was perfect for that, and she saved a ton of lives, so and awesome to see thousands of lives. Republicans, meanwhile, see Ramaswamy as a rising national conservative star who can energize Trump voters while appealing to younger and more business-minded conservatives. I kind of think that's kind of showing how maybe just sheep people are, because a lot of these business-minded conservatives are thinking, talking to him that are younger my age, actually don't like him at all. People that are in business professions, they kind of don't like how he scammed people to be considered a businessman. They see him as someone that scammed basically a ton of working class people in healthcare to become rich, and they don't even like that. Wolf of Wall Street stuff on crack. This election also viewed as preview where mainstream politics is heading in the Trump era. Both candidates are political outsiders in different ways. Ramaswamy comes from a business and national political world, and Acton comes from medicine and public health, which is really cool to see. Right now, some Republican trending topics and talking points is Trump's influence is still dominant here in Ohio. Ohio can become for Florida for Midwest, and just like how they say, Florida's for Ohio for South. Yuck. Pushback against COVID-19 policies. Many Republicans continue to associate Acton with Ohio's pandemic restrictions from 2020. Conservative social media discussions frequently revisit lockdown, mask mandates, business disclosures, and arguing that Acton's public health records should be scrutinized during the campaign, and really it shouldn't be because they're dumb. If they were doctors, maybe, but they're not doctors, so I'm good. For young conservative energy, another trend among conservative influencers is excitement about Ramaswamy's age and communication style, which is horrible. People just laugh all over Facebook and all over social media. It's funny. Supporters argue he represents a new generation of Republican leadership compared to the traditional establishment in politics, and that'll be great. We can keep laughing at him. Democratic talking points is healthcare and cultural wars versus cultural wars. Democratic activists are emphasizing healthcare access, reproductive rights, and public education as contrasts with Ramaswamy's conservative platform. Many believe Acton's background as a physician gives her credibility on issues directly affecting Ohio families, and I agree. Can Democrats finally win statewide again? One of the biggest conversations among Ohio Democrats is whether Acton can break the party's statewide losing streak. It would be awesome. Ohio Democrats has recently struggled in statewide races, but supporters argue Acton's name recognition and moderate image provide a unique opportunity. Suburban voter strategy. Online discussions among Democratic strategists focus heavily on suburban counties around Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. Many of these areas are critical battleground where Amy Acton could outperform previous Democratic candidates. With women voters and reproductive rights, following recent statewide ballot measurements, Democrats are discussing whether abortion rights and healthcare issues can drive turnout in a governor's race as effectively they have in recent referendum campaigns. It would be interesting too because we see with the governor, they could veto stuff. There is power there, so I really would like it if we could get a Democrat in there. I'm gonna take a sip of water real quick. Currently, both sides are watching the polls, with early polls showing a competitive race, with surveys alternating between small leads for Acton and small leads for Ramaswamy. Most analysts currently view the race as competitive, but with Ohio's recent Republican voting history giving Ramaswamy an initial advantage. Fundraising battle. Political observers expect tens of millions of dollars to be spent in fundraising. Ramaswamy's national donor network and Amy Acton's ability to attract Democratic money from around the country. Already talking points. Turnout will be interesting. The biggest question can simply be turnout. Republicans believe Trump's coalition remains strong enough to carry another statewide election. Democrats believe an unified coalition of suburban voters, women, independents, and younger voters could make the race much more closer than recent Ohio elections, and maybe some of these Republicans that don't like Ramaswamy. That'll be awesome. Really, the bottom line here is if your online conversation is already framing the race as a clash between two very different visions for Ohio. Republicans are promoting Ramaswamy as a disruptive, conservative reformer who could accelerate Ohio's rightward shift. Hope not. Democrats are promoting Acton as a pragmatic physician and public servant focused on health care and quality of life issues. We have Ohio's open governor's seat and national attention already pouring in. This is shaping up to be one of the most important gubernatorial contests of 2026, which is awesome to see here in Ohio. Personally, like we talk about it, I think last time where Tommy was here, we talked. I want Amy Acton to win. I think, her being a doctor, her teaching kids at Ohio State, being from this area in Youngstown, she has a lot more for this state to give us than Vivek. And anyone else that thinks otherwise, to me, has to be, not a sheep, but just, so biased or so brainwashed into this that, I can't vote for a Democrat because I don't know what they could tell me Vivek has done positively for anyone, and, in business or even in public health. Because him scamming people isn't positive business, in my opinion. Just because you make money doesn't mean you're a positive businessman. A drug dealer makes money. A mobster makes money. That's because you do it in white-collar crime, in my opinion, doesn't make no difference. And if you are that mobster, you are that drug dealer. So it just blows my mind, hypocrisy. So, compared to Amy Acton, we talked about teachers, her whole doctorate, thesis was kind of about our area and certain research of MS and cancers and learning about it, higher rates in certain old industrial areas. And there's so much in there that we could learn from, and the state could basically have. That'll be awesome in my opinion, to have way better than Vivek. So I just wanted to go over a quick recap of that, because it's, every probably 2 months we'll keep doing that. It's been a while since we talked about this. And as a whole, it's kind of been a while since we talked about Ohio. We talked about the primaries a couple months ago, maybe a month ago now. Yeah, a month ago now. But just talking about Ohio's governor race will be very interesting to see, especially with all the money coming in from both sides. With just me, it'll be another quicker episode today, guys. I really appreciate everyone stopping by, tuning in this quick episode of For Week Ahead News. So with me, Liam, on the Little channel, I'll be here with Hunter, maybe Thursday. Let me make sure that's correct. Yeah, my capture's right. Huh. Oh, that's my bad. We'll be here Thursday with me and Hunter, maybe at 8:30 for the Northeast Ohio Sports Show, talking about some F1. Monaco was the last weekend. IndyCar of St. Louis the last weekend. We'll be excited. NASCAR as well. I really appreciate everyone stopping by. Hope